Well, hello and welcome to the Frustration of Freedom podcast. It's Troy and Steve here. We own, manage, and mentor a portfolio of businesses that do about 162 million a year and growing. And so today, what we've got is Steve here, and what we want to do is unpack some of his week. I'd love to pick your brain and hear the types of advice and the support that you've given to your existing clients. And I guess our goal is for you to be able to take away one or two amazing key things that you can implement within your business to help you get to the next level too. So Steve, welcome.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, mate. I'm looking forward to going through and having this chat with you today.
Yeah, keen to hear how the week has gone and the gold that you've given out, the support you've given.
Well, silver maybe, not necessarily all gold, but we tried. It's been an interesting week. It's been did a bit of travel as well this week with clients in interstate, so a bit of a busy one. But I think for me, I guess a client that I really want to discuss. This client is in manufacturing. Obviously, we deal with a lot of manufacturing businesses in the consultancy work that we do. And to be honest, it becomes what I notice, especially with manufacturing businesses that are a dual component to what they do. So they've got the manufacture within their workshop, but then they've also got the installation components. And commonly those businesses are great operators. So whatever it is that they manufacture or how they manufacture, they've always been fantastic at that particular thing, but then have stepped up and taken that step up into the business world. And it has become a bit more of a challenge. But with this particular person, fantastic business, turns over great money, doing really well. But the initial conversation when I met with this business owner, the first thing that I picked up early on was just the team. So this guy trying really hard, but just the team around him is not there to support. I guess the direction in the direction of the business and the way that he wants to go. The people aren't around him to be able to facilitate that, which is why he keeps getting dragged into doing the operations on a day-to-day basis.
And so did he buy into it, or did he start the business?
No, so he kind of bought the business, but has built it significantly from what it was.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And how many team members do they have now?
So at the moment, they'd have close to 55.
Okay.
55 staff members. Yeah, majority on the floor. I would say probably 7 or 8 that work. I guess you would call them professional staff working in the office. Yeah. And then the rest would be a split between factory-based staff and installation staff. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. And so you were saying that the team aren't really supporting him the way that you think he deserves? No.
And I think that was the key problem at the very start, but that's what I noticed in our initial conversations. But since having started with this client, just noticing that the key aspects, it's not just necessarily the people, because there is good people there. It's I guess a bit of a lack of direction, and I guess the structure and the systems, and everything that we talk about, the LSS model is really what was missing. So sure. The very first thing that we did was just started at the top and said, all right, well, what's the strategy? We looked at who do we want to target, and by looking at the numbers and the breakdown in the clients, we saw that the number one type of client that they should be working with is a commercial builder, not a residential builder. Right. Because the factory is just not set up. It's too heavy, too heavy with respect to human intervention. So too many factory resources. If you were going to look at that domestic space, it'd certainly be a lot more automation to it. So business wasn't set up for that. Obviously, the money's not there to make that happen. So we said, all right, great. So moving forwards, we're going to start with the commercial space. But without going into too much of the detail, What we're doing at the moment is reshaping the strategy. We're restructuring the organization to make it a more scalable organization structure. And the key component to that, though, when it comes back to the team, is we're developing a presentation of sorts. And the idea of that presentation is to give the team buy-in and understanding as to where the business is going.
Sure.
So I think that was a big part of the problem, was that everybody was just turning the wheels. Business owners getting frustrated because people are pulling in different directions. And the reason that's the case is because nobody knows what the direction is.
Sure.
So the idea of...
Going into the business, the team weren't supporting him the way, I guess, that would be ideal. But because normally you look at a person and it's either they've got great attitude and great demeanor, or they don't. And if they do, then it's okay. Then we need to start looking internally at the business. So would you say most of the team somewhat good people, but they were just lacking that direction, the strategy, the structure, and I guess the leadership from the organization to support them, to support him? Would you say?
Yeah, I would say so. So a lot of really, like, from what I can gather in the short time that I've been with them, is skilled people that know what they're doing.
Right.
But understanding, where they fit within the context of the business, what the expectations are, and really, to be honest, more communicating the expectations. I think it's less about the team not being the right people to support him, but more so about the team not knowing what the expectations are of the business owner and where the business is going, to know what they need to do to satisfy and support. And look, that's not for everybody. That is for the majority of them, but there certainly are some people that we may need to make some difficult decisions on. And you and I always say this when we move into start working with a business, is that the business owner needs to be comfortable that there's some hard decisions that need to be made.
And because if you start making the direction and the expectations clear, people either jump on board with that or they don't, and or they jump ship. So sometimes the easiest way to make sure you've got the right people is to provide that really clear direction. This is where we're going. This is what we want to achieve. These are the standards we want, and are going to be expecting daily. Who's in, really.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing was just helping this person, because again, business owners, especially a business that size that doesn't have the structure in place, like, it's no wonder that the business owner was just spinning the wheels, like just trying to get the work out the door, trying to carry it all himself, because there just was no mechanism for support. There was no systems for support. The software wasn't being utilized the way that it should be. So there was no comfort in the fact that the jobs were actually getting done the way that they should be. So a whole bunch of things that needed to be worked through. But I think the key aspect was that, we needed to get all of that made, but then the team members need to know what those expectations are moving forward, so they can all sort of come together and support him moving forwards.
I've got a good metaphor. So if you imagine, go back in the day, imagine a horse and a cart, right? And you take away the horse, take away the things that's in the cart. And then, so it's almost like you get the owner and the team members to put them where they think they are. And it's take this analogy. It sounds like the whole team are in the cart, the owner's out the front, and he's the horse, kind of pulling it all along. And, sometimes that's how they can feel. And, that's the typical, what we talk about is the high performer. It's the person that is outperforming everyone and pulling that cart. But ideally, creating the direction, the strategy, the owner can hop in the cart, the team can jump out the front, and now that owner becomes the driver and is able to direct the team where we're going. And then the expectations enable the team to then know what their role is and how they can report back and support the owner.
100%, mate. And Yeah, I think that's the keys. I mean, first and foremost, I don't think the organization structure was set in the way that it should be.
No.
But again, I think that's just building on the fly.
But like it's yeah, it's great that you said that, because I think something that's come up for me a lot is I think people really don't understand the value of an org chart.
Yeah.
An organizational structure. How often do you ask people, yeah, we've got one, and they dig something out and it's a piece of paper somewhere, but it doesn't reflect the environment. It's not being used to support the right people for lines of communication, to hold expectations accountable, things like that. So it's like, it's one thing to draw it, it's another thing to have it actually working in the business.
Oh, agreed, mate. And with growth as well, you need to know what the structure is going to look like in 12 months' time, 24 months' time, 36 months' time, based on what you're trying to achieve. So if there was something people could take away from this, is that if you don't have an organization structure, build it, laid out as to what it actually looks like within your business. But also to then look at, okay, well, if I want to grow from 500,000 to 1 million, or I want to go from 1 million to 3 million, obviously there's going to be additional resources required. So what does that look like?
Yeah.
I mentioned before that it seems like the structure's been built on the fly, because people tend to plug gaps, but they don't sit down and really consider what the business needs and the structure that it needs. Another example, I'm about to start with a client at some point, I think Thursday this week, tomorrow actually. Today's Wednesday. And had this conversation with them yesterday. They sent me a message saying, "Oh, Steve, I think we found the right person to be doing this particular role." And I gave them a call and I said, "Well, first of all, tell me about the person." Went through it. Okay, well, they don't necessarily have the skills that you're looking for. So that's a bit of a concern to start off with. But what are they actually going to be doing? And they've found someone that works in the same, environment or industry. And they like that, because they don't have to teach the market. They don't have to teach the industry and the nuances associated with that industry. But that person doesn't have the skill set for the role that they are wanting, or potentially wanting, to fill. Right. But the only reason, so then they're adjusting the type of role that they're bringing into the business simply to satisfy that training element, right? Where that is just the complete wrong way to look at it, in my opinion, because yes, appreciate that there's aspects of that, but the soft skill components, or the technical knowledge, sorry, I should say, not the soft skill, the technical knowledge of that role can easily be taught. Yes, it's going to take time, but it can easily be taught. Whereas if you try to put somebody into a role, first of all, we haven't discussed what that role actually needs to look like, because there's a lot more surrounding that, and the org structure hasn't actually been built. But if we then go and plug somebody into the role that doesn't have the soft skills that they need, but they've got the technical knowledge, it's not going to work.
No. And I think even, to articulate it further, like their personality, and their strengths, like if so, I'm not sure of this role, but like I can imagine if they're, they've found someone that's technically capable, but maybe they're not great at sales. It's like, okay, well, it's is their personality and teaching sales, that's a much harder, longer term thing to try and do, or take it out of the sales environment, but you put them into like an admin or a bookkeeping type role, like the attention to detail, the dotting your I's and crossing the T's. Like you don't have time to train that sort of stuff, but reconciliations and bookkeeping and the technical stuff is actually is teachable without a psychology degree.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that's I guess the reason I mentioned that, and it actually was a sales role, and that was the discussion, right, that it's an outbound sales role. There's only certain type of person that fits the criteria from a personality perspective that can handle that type of role. That's the constant rejection and things like that. And then it was, oh yeah, but what if we then did this, and what if we then did that? No, hold on, let's stop for a second. Let's take a step back. Let's actually look at what role we need to fulfill. What role does the business need? What impact is that role going to have on the rest of the team? And either alleviating some of the responsibilities that they have, But let's just create the org structure first and what it actually needs to look like, so we've got that foundation to grow, and make it a scalable structure. So I think that planning component is incredibly important, because people fill gaps on the fly because it's a necessity. Whereas I think the thinking needs to change, and you need to respect your organization structure more, and you need to actually plan out what does that future look like. And the same context, I think, in my opinion, applies whether we are starting at say 500,000 and we're wanting to grow, over the course of the next 5-10 years, because we're young, we're hungry, this business is new. Or if you're at the other end of the equation and you're looking to slow down and you're looking to phase yourself out of the business, or you're looking to find avenues to potentially sell or maintain the business, but just not have it dependent on you anymore. Like respecting the organization structure and developing what that looks like based on the outcome that you want to achieve, is something that you have to do.
No, I agree. Like, because I hear what you're saying, and it's potentially coming from some of those people that say, well, we're not big enough for that yet. You might only have 1 or 2 people in your business, but what I've found, and you've probably found it too, is that that those that act as if they're big, so meaning they take systems, structure, strategy, KPIs, they take that sort of stuff serious, are the ones that will grow faster. It's like if you want to store a lot of water, you don't start with a little bucket and then once it's overflowing, quickly get a bigger bucket. You know what I mean? You're going to lose a lot of water. Whereas you're better off aiming, I want a big, massive tank, and then okay, we've got the capacity, let's load it up. Now, I don't mean go and hire heaps of people, but if you have the systems, the structure, the process, the business element, so that you can grow and scale, it'll be far more effective. Like, we either get pulled in from one of two sides. Either you're small and you're trying to grow, but you're just spinning your wheels, you're hitting a plateau, and it's most likely because of the systems, the structure, the strategy. Or you're doing really well, you're growing fast, and you're running like the clappers to try and catch up. And so you've got 50, 30, 40, 50 staff. You don't have HR systems in place, or if you do, it's all manual, your software systems, your workflows, things don't talk, breakdown of communication amongst the team. So if you have any plans at all to grow your business, you should do this stuff.
Oh yeah, it's a given. It avoids, like you mentioned before, you could be more efficient, but it also means you make less mistakes, because you know exactly what you need, when you need, how you need it. Build yourself a resource plan with, you draw a bit of a graph, and you've got dollars on one side and time on the other. Draw your hockey stick as to how you expect your revenue to go up across the time. And then based on those different intervals, you know what you're going to be hiring or who you're going to be hiring and when, to be able to fulfill the growth, because you need to be able to deliver on it. But just that planning is so important. And going back to the original discussion with that client, it's the planning of the organization structure, but then helping the team to understand where they fit within that context. Is really important to making sure that you as the owner feel supported.
It's interesting to say that, because I had a bit of a situation where I was given an org chart. It had no names on it, just had the roles. And I was just like, see, like, again, you can tick a box and say, yeah, I've got an org chart. But, the very first step is to design that org chart with roles, responsibilities, and names, because every subsequent step from communicating it to the team, to setting up the meeting structures to hold it all accountable, for team members to go to the right team members for support and accountability, like all of that. That you can just assume that a lot of those things aren't happening because the org chart itself is not clear. So, right. Expectations, accountability, none of that will be clear.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be great. If I walked into let's say I'm an employee, I walk into a business without an org structure, I'll just put myself as the CEO and everybody can answer to me. I mean, it's not going to happen in reality, but I think just get clear around what that looks like. Again, whether you're looking to grow, and I mean, if you are somebody that's a part of our community or looking to join, like, put it in there. Like, build your organization chart, put it in our community, let us have a look at it, and we'll critique it for you. We'll tell you if it's good or not. We'll tell you what you need to do to improve. The rest of the community will tell you what to do as well, because that's the whole intended purpose of it. But so look, I think overall with this client, I'm really excited. I think what this has also done for him is sort of reinvigorated the passion within the business now, because there's been a lot of turning the wheels. Things haven't really been moving forwards, but now this has brought an element of excitement, like change, excitement. Can see the structure.
He must be able to see what it's going to look like, like, because I don't know, I haven't met this guy yet, but like if they've grown up in the business, sometimes they haven't been in a business this size, so they don't know what does a bigger business look like. If I'm already at 50, well, what does 100 employees look like? But if he now can see the future, he can see what that org chart might look like. It's then a lot clearer. And sometimes, like, I wonder how people make decisions if they haven't got this stuff clear. Like, it'll be so easy for him now to make decisions. It's either do I or don't I, because it either helps achieve this goal that we have or not.
Yeah. No, agree. And I think that passion to bring it back is also then productive in terms of supporting the staff members buying into that and seeing that passion and getting sucked into that and sucked in, probably not the right phrase, but they I don't know, get addicted to the passion and the enthusiasm around it. So I think that's really important. So again, I guess another takeaway is, if you feel like you have hit that plateau, sort of just stop, go back, reflect on your strategy, reflect on the structure of your business and the organization chart. If you don't have goals set for the next 12 to 24 months, set some and get excited by it. Set up what the structure might look like, if you don't already have one, or what it could look like in the next 2 years. Like, reinvigorate yourself with that energy, because that'll help you to continue to break out of that plateau and continue to move forwards, because you can see what the road's going to look like.
And I think one thing to add to the org chart is almost like just to visualize a sports team. Like I know you like footy and you go for Essendon, so some people have just logged off now. But
let's not talk about that.
Let's say you love football, you love the team Essendon. So now you're going to set up your org chart. Like, imagine if Essendon didn't have, the positions on the football field and what their primary objective was, and then train for it and then practice for it, and then it's the same within a team. So if your team is just based on you having the people to do the job, or you're all here to be able to win, and what does win even mean, and then who's in what position to be able to contribute what to the overall winning of the team. And I just find that I think business and sport have a very similar metaphor, and I always say to leaders, up and coming leaders, that you should be operating as if you've got a high performing team and you're there to win the championship. What does that look like? What's the goals? And then how does the structure support that? And it just injects that fire into everyone's belly.
Totally agree, mate. I think though, Essendon's probably a poor representation of that at this point in time. I think people might argue that we don't have a structure. We don't have a system. We might have a goal, but it's not clearly articulated to the fans and the members and everybody else, or at least the social media team's doing a good job of that, but the team's not. So hopefully, maybe they'll give us a call and say, can you come give us a chop out and maybe put something in place for us? But
some teams aren't. You can't help,
Sorry, Essendon, I love you. Get better next year.
Good. And so how have you gone working with them to articulate that vision, that goal, and then setting those expectations with the team?
Yeah, very, very good. So so we're at the point now where we're going to meet with the team in the next week or two. We've already given them a bit of an indication as to what it's all going to look like. But we're going to meet with the team in a week or two, and just go through everything, present it to them, give them the opportunity to ask questions. It helps people to understand, because it's not just particular teams that we're bringing in at different times. So the estimating team will have an understanding of what the sales team's responsibilities are going to be, what the project management's responsibilities are going to be, et cetera, et cetera. So that way everybody is aware and conscious of the efforts of each other.
And so you're presenting that meeting, you're running that meeting?
Going to run that meeting with the business owner. And we're going to present that to the team. But then after that, it's about then keeping everybody accountable to it. So yes, we've got the structure. Yes, we've got the PDs, but it's then the meeting structures that come with the new responsibilities and the new KPIs.
Yeah, because you can, for starters, the reason why I asked you the question is because, like, I find a lot of owners, they're not communicating as well as they should, and a lot of people don't like standing on stage or talking in front of groups, and particularly if it's things that are, like providing a vision or a direction or holding everyone accountable in a group environment. So, I think it's great that's being done. And sometimes if you're not doing it yourself, just get someone to do it. So I think, and then I like what you said around the accountability piece, because you can say all you want. But if the business goes back to usual the day after and it doesn't actually change anything, then it's just a waste of time, isn't it?
It's a waste of time, and I think if anything, it disgruntles the team even more, because you
waste our time, share a vision, and then it doesn't actually mean anything. And I get motivated. I come in earlier, start working harder. Joe Blogg's next to me. He's not upholding this new vision, new standard, and you didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So why should I put in extra? Do you know what I mean? Like, it can actually negatively impact the culture if you don't drive those high standards.
It certainly can. I mean, it's the same principle that applies, as I say, to business owners with performance reviews or 360-degree surveys and all those sorts of things. They're all great things to do. But if you do the exercise and do nothing with the outcomes or the discussions, it's all a waste of time. And then people, the next time around you try to do it, people go, well, why would I bother? So it's the same concept. If you're going to go through the exercise of doing this, make sure you back it up with the accountability of it, both for yourself as an individual, and keeping the discipline to that as a business owner, but also the team.
And how is the business in terms of, its structures to hold people accountable and to deliver either quality work or standards?
Look, quality work out of the factory is not too bad, because I think that's been the major focus up until this point in time. Where it's sort of fallen away is in the office. I mean, yes, there are processes and systems that still need to be developed on the factory floor. That's around efficiencies and quality, but the main aspect has been the internal and professional team members. So up to this point, the accountability has been okay. Everybody does their thing because they're good people, but the structure around that and the consistency around that just hasn't been there. So that's the next thing is we've structured those meetings on a weekly basis and a monthly basis. The ones that need to occur, they're in the calendar, they can't move. And the team, the key dynamic, and we talk about this all the time, the key shift in the dynamic is that the team members need to provide the reports that we're asking for. We're not going to get that information. The team members are responsible for collecting it and presenting it to us, not the other way around. So, because I think that's really
important. The owner in the back of the cart now, the team are doing it and delivering the information. But it's interesting you say that about the office environment, particularly in a manufacturing environment. The office environment can sometimes be similar to more of the professional environments. Sometimes, in the factory, it's quite clear you have to have a workflow. Like, you're not going to, suddenly make plastic bottles, when you're making timber trusses, for example. So it's you have a set workflow and you follow that workflow because you've got machinery, robots, and humans all to make that happen.
Yeah.
But when you get into an office type environment, sometimes it's just like there can be no order to things or a lack of order because it's less rigid. But it's finding order in that chaos where I think the gold is, and then being able to hold it accountable.
Yeah, I totally agree, and especially like I said early on in the piece, when it's a manufacturing business that has a component of installation and manufacturing. Typically, the business owner is really good at doing the thing. Let's say fabrication, for example. They're a really good boilermaker, a really good fabricator, but haven't run a business. So, or have run a business, but aren't aware as to either how to get to that next level or what that next level looks like, or what they should be doing. And what mistakes they should be avoiding by doing certain things as well. So, and when I meant why I say that is because going back to what you said about the factory being in order, because they're so good at that thing, that's where they feel comfortable.
Sure.
Because that's where they've grown up. They've spent from 16 years of age to 30s, 40s, and 50s working in that environment, so they get it, they understand it. The office is completely foreign,
unknown. Yeah, sure. And with when it comes to the scheduling team, because it's I guess it's less, it's obviously not manufacturing, it's more installation, it's more labor, it's managing of people, quality. It's very different to the factory. How's that side of the business operating?
Well, it's the biggest issue. So everything's been okay, but the biggest issue is the systems or the software isn't being used.
Right.
So to
out on site, you mean?
Either out on sites or even in the factory,
Okay.
to manage the progress and the stages of where things are at from a manufacturing point of view, and then even installation, because installation also becomes more challenging because you've got less control of the process. Whereas in the factory, you can see it; it's right there. You can walk out onto the factory floor and see that it's there. Whereas installation requires a hell of a lot more. I guess process and checklists and systems to maintain the control whilst the team's out there. So,
and are they doing multiple installs a day, or is it typically one site for the day or more?
Depends on the work. If it's a large commercial job, that could be on the one site for 6 months.
Yeah. Okay.
Or if it's domestic, it could be 2 or 3 jobs in a day.
So you're finding that, when they use the systems, they're just more organized. So, the trucks, the vans, the cars, whatever, the tools, the bolts, the equipment all go there, more organized, set up, more efficient, get things done, taking photos, before, during, after, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, look, I think it goes back to the conversation earlier on in the piece about the ideal client. So the first thing that we established was that the commercial work is where their bread and butter is, where they make the most amount of money. People value that kind of work. They're set up for it. They're not as set up for that 2 or 3 jobs in a day. So the team works better when they go to site. They know what they need to do. All the tools are there. It's all set up. They're not setting up, decommissioning, job after job after job. So the business is better set for that type of work, which ultimately is why they make better money from those types of jobs. So to support with making sure that the installation team are doing their job and are able to do it effectively, we just need to make sure that we're focusing on more of that type of work than the other.
Yeah. So they track their time on the installs. Yeah. So you were probably able to see, look, you're quoting or estimating this amount of time. It's never taking that time because you're less organized, or you're setting up, you're decommissioning, whatever. So you do that analysis and you can see that, the commercial jobs are where it's at. And then sometimes, if you're spending your sales and marketing resource, even your people resource on getting more of those residential jobs, it might be a good short-term stopgap, but holding you back from that longer-term strategy. So they're better off specializing in that commercial area.
Yeah, 100%. And look, tracking job profit is a necessity. Any project, because at the end of the day, if there's no money in it, there's no point doing it. But the other aspect with these types of businesses is that you really want to. I mean, your estimating team, it's a cost of doing business. It's an expense. Marketing's an expense. But with the commercial work, you can recoup a lot of your project management costs because you incorporate that into the fees. So your project managers actually become a sellable asset or a sellable resource. Whereas the way that the organization structure is set up at the moment, we've got people doing some of the administrative work for the jobs, but not project managing a job from end to end. So that project management time is not really accounted for. Right. Whereas, and on your general domestic type work, it's a little bit harder to factor project management into a half-day install. So we're not recouping that cost. Whereas the larger commercial work, well, those resources go from being an administrative expense to a sellable time. Right. So that also is what impacts the decision. So yeah, there's a lot of things surrounding it, but moving forwards, project profit is something that we'll look at on a weekly basis. So the project managers need to come with the expectation that these are the jobs that we closed out for the week, and this is how we went. This is what we estimated the materials. This is what it actually costed us. This is because there's rework and a whole bunch of things associated with it. So did we have to order more than what we estimated, et cetera, et cetera? And this is the time that we estimated, and did we actually get it done in that time? And then you can break it down by saying, well, was it accurately estimated? Did we give enough time? Or were the guys out on site just lazy, or did something get in the way? Was the machinery no good? Helps us to find all the problems to make sure that we can get better.
Yeah. Look, the ability to analyze that data. So step one, have the data, be able to analyze it to then make great decisions. I think is so important. If you look at the clients we've worked with that have gone from, whatever it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mil to, 10 times that to 50 to 100 mil. Like it's really finding and analyzing the data to be able to make those decisions on where you're going to double down your time. Because if you're doing more of the right things and you're doing it regularly, it'll just start to compound in time. But if you don't even have that data in the first place, you're just making decisions based on feelings, and they never really help that much. They can just send you down rabbit holes.
No, that's right. So yeah, look, I think takeaways for everybody from this is, like I said, respect your organization structure, plan it, don't fill gaps out of necessity. So making sure that you're not filling positions on the fly, do it because it's planned. With your team, make sure that they're on board with what the expectations are, and the direction of the business. If you're feeling like you're not supported, make that shift, as you said with the analogy, get out of being the horse and jump in the cart and get the team out in the front pulling things along. And they know the direction that you're going, and they're held accountable to the expectations. So really focus on those two parts.
Good. All right. Well, thank you for your time, Steve. It's been a great chat. For those that are listening, if you're loving this sort of content, so growing your business, scaling your business, if you're wanting to connect with other like-minded businesses, we have a community called From Frustration to Freedom. There'll be a link somewhere here. Click on it, come check it out, join the community, and we look forward to seeing you there. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.